So, imagine for a second that your smartphone is running on like 1% battery.
Oh, the worst feeling. Total panic mode.
Right. The screen is dimming, apps are crashing left and right, and you've got that little red battery icon just flashing at you.
Begging for a charger.
Exactly, begging for a wall outlet. But instead of plugging it in to recharge, you decide to, I don't know, turn on your personal hotspot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you turn it on so like 5 of your friends can connect their devices and stream movies off your dying phone.
That is just, I mean, structurally, that's insane. Your phone would just die in 3 seconds.
Totally insane for a piece of technology, right? But the crazy thing is, it's exactly how millions of us are running our own lives every single day.
It really is. It's the ultimate modern trap, honestly.
Yeah.
We are so obsessed with optimizing everything around us, like our workflows, our schedules, our team's productivity, but we just completely neglect our own basic operational capacity.
We treat ourselves like machines.
Worse than machines, actually. We treat our own energy as if it's this infinite resource, right up until the system just totally crashes.
Which brings us perfectly to the core mission of our deep dive today.
Yes.
We are looking at a really powerful narrative sourced from The Empty Cup, a journey to self-love. And, I'm sure you listening have probably heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup a million times.
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing you see embroidered on throw pillows or, posted on social media with a sunset in the background.
It's definitely a bumper sticker cliche at this point.
Exactly. But today, we are moving way past the cliche. We want to look at the actual mechanics of why we do this.
The psychology behind it.
Yes, like why are we so incredibly generous and patient and kind to literally everyone else while completely starving ourselves of that exact same grace?
It's a huge paradox. And, the story anchors this whole exploration around a character named Layla.
Right, Layla.
And she is essentially the poster child for this very specific kind of burnout.
She really is.
What's so compelling about Layla's situation is how well it mirrors a phenomenon we see everywhere, especially in, high-achieving, empathetic people.
The ones holding it all together.
Exactly. There is this massive, really dangerous canyon between how they're perceived externally and how they are actually functioning internally.
Right.
Like, on the outside, Layla is the structural pillar. She's the person everyone goes to because she always has the answer.
She always has time.
She always has the time and she always cares.
Yeah.
But internally, that pillar is entirely hollowed out.
Yeah, because Layla is the ultimate yes person.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, a friend calls with a crisis. Yes, I'll listen for 2 hours.
Of course.
The boss needs someone to take on a weekend project. Yes, I can absolutely handle that.
Family needs someone to organize the reunion.
Yeah.
Yes, send me the details.
Right. And what I found so striking about the source material is that it highlights how society absolutely loves a Layla.
We reward it.
We really do. We don't stage interventions for people pleasers. We promote them. We give them awards for being so, reliable and selfless.
And that societal reward system is precisely what makes the trap so insidious.
How do you mean?
Well, when you are constantly rewarded with praise and approval and career advancement for ignoring your own needs, overgiving becomes this deeply entrenched defense mechanism.
Wow, a defense mechanism.
Yeah, we frame it as kindness, right? But psychologically, people-pleasing is often about control.
Wait, really? Control?
Yeah, it's a way to control how other people perceive you. Think about it. If you are always useful, you are never disposable.
Oh, man, that is heavy.
Right. If you're always fixing other people's problems, no one can ever be mad at you. But maintaining that illusion requires you to run that 1% battery down to absolute zero.
Which sets up, honestly, one of the most relatable moments in this whole narrative.
The mirror scene.
Yes. It's nighttime. Layla has finally finished everything for everyone else. The emails are sent, the crises are managed, the house is finally quiet.
The world is asleep.
Exactly. And instead of feeling this deep satisfaction of a job well done, she catches her reflection in the bathroom mirror and just feels this crushing emptiness.
Just total exhaustion.
Yeah, and she actually asks herself out loud, why do I care about everyone, but not myself?
It's a heartbreaking moment. But it happens because the noise of helping others is a fantastic way to drown out your own internal distress.
Like a distraction.
Exactly. When the external demands finally stop for the day, the silence is deafening. You're left entirely alone with the reality of your self-abandonment.
Self-abandonment, that's a great way to put it.
The exhaustion Layla feels in that mirror moment, it isn't just the physical result of doing too many tasks. It is the profound emotional toll of actively ignoring your own existence day after day.
Because you spent, what, 12 hours proving to the world that everyone else matters?
Right. Which implicitly tells your own brain that you do not matter.
That is such a harsh reality to face at midnight. And, it forces Layla out of her house.
She just has to escape.
Yeah, she needs a change of scenery because the walls are literally closing in on her. So she heads out to a quiet park to just sit and think.
To finally be still.
Right. And this is where the narrative shifts from just diagnosing the problem to actually trying to treat it.
The turning point.
Exactly. While she's sitting there alone on this bench, an older woman named Mira walks up to her.
And Mira is such a fascinating catalyst in this story.
She really is.
Because she doesn't approach Layla with, a clipboard of solutions or unsolicited advice. She simply notices Layla's distress, sits down near her, and just asks, "Are you okay?"
Just a simple question.
Yeah, and then she does something that Layla almost never experiences in her own life.
What's that?
She actually waits for the honest answer.
Wow. Yeah, she doesn't interrupt.
Not at all.
She doesn't jump in with her own story about, a time she was also tired to make it about herself. She just provides this completely neutral, non-judgmental space.
A safe container for the truth.
Yes. And because Mira creates that safety, Layla finally admits it out loud. She confesses that she is always there for others, but she feels completely empty inside.
Which is the perfect opening for Mira to deliver the central metaphor of the whole story.
The empty cup.
Right. She looks at Layla and tells her, "You can't pour from an empty cup." Now, as you mentioned earlier, we all know this phrase.
We've all seen the throw pillows.
Exactly. But Mira doesn't deliver it as this abstract philosophical musing. She delivers it as an undeniable law of physics.
A law of physics. I like that.
It is. If you have a physical pitcher of water and there is no water in it, you cannot give someone a drink. Your desire to give them a drink is completely irrelevant.
Your moral character is irrelevant.
Exactly. You just lack the resources, period.
Okay, but I want to stop right here because I feel like I need to push back a little on behalf of the listener.
Yeah, go for it.
If you are someone who operates like Layla, a chronic overgiver, understanding the physics of the cup isn't the actual problem.
No, it's not the intellect that's the issue.
Right. The problem is the guilt. If I'm used to being the savior at work and the therapist for my friends, and suddenly you tell me to stop pouring and focus on my own cup,
It feels wrong.
it feels incredibly selfish. How does someone get past that visceral panic that taking care of themselves suddenly makes them a bad person?
Oh, that is the exact mental hurdle we have to dismantle. And it requires a complete paradigm shift.
How so?
Well, we have to understand the evolutionary biology at play here. As humans, we evolved in tribes.
Yeah, hunter-gatherer stuff.
Exactly. And our survival depended entirely on being accepted by the group.
Sure.
So for a chronic people pleaser, saying no triggers a primal fear of rejection.
Oh, wow. So it's literally life or death to the brain.
Yes. The nervous system interprets setting a boundary as an actual threat to your survival. You subconsciously think, if I stop being useful, they will cast me out.
So the panic is real. It's a biological alarm bell going off.
Precisely. But we have to counter that biological panic with logic. And this is exactly what Mira does for Layla in the park.
She gives her a new framework.
Right. She reclassifies self-care. She takes it out of the category of selfish indulgence and moves it firmly into the category of necessary prerequisite.
Necessary prerequisite.
Yeah. Selfishness is taking more than your fair share of resources while others go without. Self-preservation is ensuring you have enough structural integrity to continue existing.
Like the airplane oxygen mask rule.
Exactly. If you don't secure your own oxygen mask first, you pass out. And then you're just another casualty that someone else has to save.
I really like that distinction. Selfishness is taking more than your share. Self-preservation is maintaining your structural integrity.
It changes everything when you view it that way.
It does. So Layla has this huge breakthrough in the park. She realizes the cup is empty, and the physics simply won't allow her to keep operating this way.
The realization is the first step.
Right. But knowing you need to fill the cup and actually doing it are two entirely different universes. So how does she actually start?
The story outlines a very specific 5-part blueprint that Mira shares with Layla.
Okay, let's hear the blueprint.
And what's brilliant about it is that it tackles both the external behaviors and the internal cognitive loops at the exact same time.
Let's break these down, because they sound deceptively simple, Mira tells her. Learn to say no. Take time for yourself. Speak to yourself kindly. Stop trying to please everyone. And remember your worth.
Deceptively simple is the perfect way to phrase it.
Right, because if I'm reading that list, my immediate reaction is, sure, I'll just get right on that Piece of cake.
As if it's a grocery list.
Yeah. But practically speaking, how does someone who has spent 20 years saying yes just suddenly learn to say no? It's like asking someone to use a muscle that has completely atrophied.
It's exactly like an atrophied muscle.
Yeah.
And, using it for the first time is going to cause cramps, shaking, and pain.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah. And the story doesn't shy away from this at all. The very next day at work, someone approaches Layla with extra tasks, which is her usual trigger to say yes.
For default mode.
Right. But she pauses. And instead she says, "I'm sorry, I can't today."
Wow. Huge step.
It is. But the narrative points out that this moment feels incredibly uncomfortable for her. And we really need to unpack why that discomfort is actually the goal.
Wait, the discomfort is the goal. Usually when something feels awful, our brain tells us we're making a huge mistake.
Right. But in this specific case, the discomfort is the friction of unwiring a deeply ingrained neural pathway.
Breaking the habit.
Exactly. Lila's brain is used to getting a dopamine hit every single time she pleases someone, combined with the relief of avoiding their potential disappointment.
Because she's addicted to the approval.
Yes. When she says no, she cuts off that dopamine supply completely, and she forces herself to sit with the anxiety of potential disapproval.
That sounds miserable.
It is, but that discomfort means she is actively resisting the compulsion. It's the psychological equivalent of a withdrawal symptom.
That makes so much sense. It feels awful because you're literally withdrawing from the drug of external validation.
Exactly.
And the story captures that duality perfectly. It says the moment feels uncomfortable, but it also feels freeing.
Freedom is on the other side of that anxiety.
Right, because she survives the encounter, the world didn't end, she didn't get fired on the spot, and she actually protected an hour of her own time.
And that small victory builds the foundation for the second part of Mira's blueprint.
Which is taking time for yourself.
Right. Once you've carved out the time by saying no, you actually have to inhabit that time.
Which brings us to, honestly, my favorite scene in the entire narrative.
The walk.
Yes. Layla decides to go for a walk, just for herself. But she does something incredibly radical.
She leaves the phone behind.
She leaves her phone at home. No podcasts, no music, no group chats, no work emails. Just her in the park.
It's a bold move in today's world.
Right. I think for a lot of people listening right now, leaving the house without a phone sounds way more stressful than actually bringing it.
Oh, absolutely.
The phone is essentially a portal to endless demands. It's like an umbilical cord to everyone else's emergencies.
That's a great analogy. And by leaving the phone behind, she is enforcing the physical boundary that she just created verbally at work.
So she's backing up her no with action.
Exactly. But let's look at the physiological response here because it's fascinating. The story notes that at first, the quiet feels strange and really unsettling to her.
The withdrawal again.
Yes. Again, we are dealing with brain chemistry. Our phones condition us to be in a constant state of hypervigilance.
Waiting for the next ping.
Right. A ping could be a crisis you have to fix, or it can be praise. Both of those spike your cortisol and your dopamine levels.
So your brain is just constantly redlining.
Yep. So when you remove the device entirely, your brain is still actively scanning the environment for those inputs. The silence literally feels like a dangerous void.
So you're out there walking and your brain is just screaming, check the email. What if someone needs you? What if there's a fire you need to put out?
Exactly. You are experiencing the raw reality of your own company without any distractions to numb you out.
Which is terrifying for a lot of us.
It is. But the narrative shows us that if you can just endure that initial spike of anxiety, the nervous system eventually catches up. It realizes there is no actual tiger chasing you.
The threat isn't real.
Right. The cortisol drops.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when the text tells us Layla slowly begins to feel peaceful. The frantic energy dissipates, and she actually hears her own thoughts for the first time in months.
It's a gradual shift from total panic to actual presence.
A beautiful transition.
And I really appreciate how the narrative emphasizes that it's a slow process. It's not magic.
No, it takes time.
Yeah, as the days pass, she starts making these small incremental changes. She actually rests when her body says it's tired, rather than just pushing through with another cup of coffee.
Listening to her body.
Right. She listens to her own feelings instead of automatically adopting the mood of whoever she happens to be talking to. But here is the crucial detail that makes the story so incredibly authentic.
She still feels guilty.
Yes, she still feels guilty sometimes.
And that is the most realistic part of the entire journey. Taking care of yourself does not magically erase decades of conditioning overnight.
It's so deeply wired in.
It is.
Yeah.
But we have to reframe what guilt means here. Guilt is not a sign that you are doing something wrong.
It isn't.
No. In this context, guilt is just an emotional echo. It's a ghost in the machine.
A ghost in the machine. Wow.
Think of it like an old operating system firing an error code simply because you are no longer following its outdated programming.
So when the guilt flares up, you don't panic and revert back to your old people-pleasing ways. You just look at the guilt, acknowledge it, and let it pass.
Precisely. You recognize the guilt as an emotion, not a fact. And the story gives Layla a really practical tool to counter that emotional echo.
Mira's words.
Exactly. When the guilt of saying no or taking a nap threatens to overwhelm her, she remembers Mira's words. You can't pour from an empty cup.
Using the metaphor as a shield.
The logical necessity of self-preservation acts as a literal firewall against the irrational guilt of not being everything to everyone.
She uses the logic to parent her own anxiety. I love that.
It's very empowering.
It is. Which transitions us perfectly into the internal cognitive side of Mira's blueprint, because the external stuff is saying no and, putting the phone away.
But a boundary setting.
Right. But the internal work is about speaking to yourself kindly and remembering your worth.
The hardest part for most people.
Without a doubt. If you spend your whole life validating everyone else, your inner critic is usually incredibly vicious.
Oh, absolutely brutal.
You would never say the things you think about yourself to a friend.
Never. That cognitive dissonance is just staggering. We will offer endless grace, patience, and understanding to a coworker who makes a mistake.
Oh, don't worry about it. It's fine.
Right.
Right.
But if we drop a glass in our own kitchen, our internal monologue immediately goes to, you're so stupid, you're so clumsy, you're a complete failure.
It goes 0 to 60 in half a second.
It does. And changing that internal monologue is really the final frontier of filling your cup. You have to start actively challenging that harsh voice.
Talking back to it.
Yes. When it says you're selfish for taking a break, you have to consciously reply, no, I am resting because my body requires it, and I am worthy of rest.
It's actively rewiring the narrative in real time.
Exactly.
And that brings us beautifully to the climax of the story, which acts as this incredible bookend to the very beginning of Layla's journey.
The second mirror scene.
Yes. We find Layla back in her house at night, standing in front of the exact same bathroom mirror again.
But think about the contrast here.
It's night and day.
The first time she was at that mirror, she was completely depleted. She was confronting a void, realizing she had abandoned herself.
Running on empty.
Right. The second time, the physical environment is exactly the same, but her internal landscape has completely shifted. She looks at her reflection, and she smiles.
She smiles. But, the narrative makes sure to clarify exactly why she is smiling.
It's a very important distinction.
Yeah. It's not because she got a promotion or because everyone is suddenly perfectly happy with her or because her life is magically free of conflict.
She smiles because she is finally taking care of herself.
Yes.
She is looking at someone who she has decided is worth protecting.
I love that phrase, worth protecting.
And the really profound takeaway from this moment is that self-love and recovery from deep burnout, they don't require this dramatic, cinematic life overhaul.
You don't have to flee the country.
Right. You don't have to quit your job, sell all your belongings, and move into a cabin in the woods to find peace.
Although that does sound nice sometimes.
Sure, it's tempting, but it's not realistic.
No. It's not about escaping your life. It's about changing how you operate within it. It's just small choices. Every single day.
Incremental changes.
Yeah, and I love that framework because it takes so much of the overwhelming pressure off. You don't have to fix everything at once.
Can't fix everything at once.
Right. You just have to say, I can't take that on right now on a random Tuesday afternoon. You just have to leave your phone in the other room for 30 minutes on a Thursday.
Small boundaries.
You just have to drink a glass of water and go to bed early when you're exhausted. They are these tiny micro moments of self-advocacy.
And those micro moments are subject to compounding interest.
Oh, that's a great way to put it. Compounding interest.
Every time you set a boundary, you add a drop to the cup. Every time you speak kindly to yourself instead of berating yourself, you add a drop.
It adds up over time.
It does. Over weeks and months, you rebuild your internal reserves. And the beautiful irony of this entire process is that by focusing on yourself, you actually become better equipped to handle the world.
Because you actually have the energy now.
Exactly. When you finally do choose to help someone else, it comes from a place of genuine abundance and capacity, rather than a place of resentful depletion.
You're pouring from the overflow, not scraping the dusty bottom of the pitcher.
Perfectly said.
So, what does this all mean for you listening right now? Let's pull all of this together.
Let's do it.
Layla's journey in the empty cup isn't just a sweet little fable, it's a highly practical diagnostic tool for your own life. We started this deep dive asking why we are so kind to others but not ourselves.
The core paradox.
Right. And we've seen that it's driven by a societal conditioning that falsely equates self-sacrifice with worthiness. And, of course, an evolutionary fear of being rejected if we aren't constantly useful to the tribe.
But the reality is that true resilience, the kind that allows you to be genuinely supportive of your family, your friends, and your colleagues over the long haul, it demands that you acknowledge your own human limits.
You're not a machine.
You're not. You have to endure the temporary discomfort of setting boundaries to achieve the long-term freedom of a balanced life.
It really all comes back to treating yourself like a piece of high-value machinery that requires regular maintenance rather than just a disposable battery.
Exactly.
The story leaves us with a challenge, and I think it is the absolute perfect way to wrap up our time together today.
It really asks a question that requires total, brutal honesty.
Yes, it does.
We want you to take a quiet moment today, maybe when you're driving or washing the dishes or just sitting on your couch, and ask yourself, do I treat myself with the exact same kindness, patience, and respect that I freely give to the people I love?
That is the ultimate litmus test right there. Think about the tone of voice you use when your best friend is going through a really hard time.
The gentleness.
Think about the grace you extend to them. And then hold that up against the way you speak to yourself in your own head when you mess up.
The contrast is usually pretty shocking.
It is. If the answer to that question is no, if there is a massive gap between the empathy you output to the world and the empathy you internalize, then today is the exact right day to start making those small, uncomfortable, but incredibly freeing choices.
Start filling the cup.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Take care of yourself out there. And remember, when the noise stops tonight and you catch your own reflection, make sure you're looking at someone who is finally off the back burner.